Iran sinks into desperation after Syria blocks terrorist weapons and dismantles, right on the border with Iraq, an attempt to forcibly reopen Hezbollah's supply corridor. The shipment was found inside an oil tanker truck that was heading to Banias on the Syrian coast. The inspection began as a routine check at the Al Tanf checkpoint, but ended with the seizure of long-range missiles, guided missiles, anti-tank weapons, rockets, drones, and military components that, according to the initial investigation by the Syrian Ministry of the Interior, would have crossed the territory to reach Lebanon.
The Ministry of the Interior, in a highly effective operation and after thorough monitoring and investigation, announces the thwarting of an attempt to smuggle a shipment of sophisticated weapons seized at the border with Syria. Let's take a look at this. This large quantity of weapons. Here we see SRAM-type missiles and more than 100, about 100 drones that were stored along with their various accessories, including the batteries. In addition to these long-range missiles,
the scene exposes Tehran's vulnerability, without Assad protecting the route, with Hezbollah under pressure on Lebanese soil and with Iranian structures. Under new attacks from the United States, the regime's network tries to hide weapons in commercial vehicles to keep its allies afloat. The new government of Ahmed al-Shara has decided that Syria will no longer serve as an open corridor for the Quds Force and its militias. The seizure announced on July 16, 2026 did not target just one truck. It targeted the logistics that had been used for years to transport military power from Iran through Iraq and Syria to Hezbollah, which is now classified by Syrian authorities as a terrorist militia. The tanker that was supposed to transport fuel was hiding a military cargo. The Syrian General Authority for Ports and Customs reported that the truck was heading to Banias, a port city, in the Mediterranean, which has gained importance as an alternative route for Iraqi cargo after the disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. The Syrian Ministry of Interior confirmed long-range missiles, anti-tank guided weapons, and drones. An analysis of the images released by the authorities pointed to at least 100 drones, fiber optic coils, warheads prepared for use in unmanned aircraft, and components possibly linked to cruise missiles. An Iranian-made anti-tank system also appeared, according to experts cited by the Long War Journal. Hezbollah started using this type of equipment in southern Lebanon, and analysis centers linked to Israeli security say that the technology has increased the accuracy of attacks against military positions. The seizure indicates that the priority was not just to store weapons. The goal would be to strengthen the group's air unit and sustain a war of attrition against Israel. During Bashar al-Assad's government, Syrian territory served as a central link between Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. Weapons and equipment reached Hezbollah by land, with political protection and support from military networks extending all the way to Iran. When Assad fell at the end of 2024, Hezbollah's own leader, Naim Qassem, acknowledged that the group had lost its supply route through Syria. Donald Trump also put pressure on this mechanism. The pressure increased with the resumption of attacks by the United States. Central Command confirmed new waves against command posts. Explosions were reported near the Shahid Barhanar port, where 2 buildings were hit, according to images and local reports. In the last 5 nights, the campaign has reached hundreds of positions in total. This was accompanied by the return of the naval blockade. The Memorandum of Understanding negotiated in Islamabad is close to collapsing. The agreement aimed to reduce attacks, allow navigation, and open new talks. That's where the discussion about a possible ground operation is growing. The war has already shown how high the cost can be. The United States and Israel carried out nearly 900 attacks in the first 12 hours of the offensive that began in February. Donald Trump stated at the end of March that the campaign had reached about 13,000 targets. CSI studies recorded a drop of up to 90 in the number of Iranian launches during the most intense phase. Rexef acknowledged that Iran no longer fires anywhere near the previous volume. This week, some estimates pointed to 30 to 60 targets hit per day, far below the 300 to 500 recorded at the peak. The reduction also shows signs of American strain. The United States has used up a large portion of the Patriot interceptors deployed in the region. And analyses mentioned in the news estimate a loss of nearly half of the available stock for the campaign. Replenishment will take years. The launches continue, but the war has entered a phase of selective strikes. What's frightening is how quickly the world got used to explosions, tankers being hit, and military alerts in the Gulf. The human cost has crushed Iran. The human rights activists in Iran recorded at least 1,700 civilians killed by April. 2 million Iranians were temporarily displaced within their own nation. The Iranian regime tries to turn the bombings into nationalism. Reports indicate that former critics began to present themselves as volunteers, while crowds at Ali Khamenei's funeral shouted against officials opposed to him. The pressure destroys structures, but gives the regime a narrative to silence opponents. Qatar got involved in this tension while rejecting claims that it had joined the attacks. Israeli outlets reported that Doha had agreed to strike Iran, but Qatari authorities denied involvement and stated that their forces only defend their own territory. Qatar hosts the Al Udeid air base and tries to avoid direct involvement. The emergence of the Iranian threat also affected Benjamin Netanyahu's personal security. Iranian-affiliated media reported that the Israeli Prime Minister and his wife would receive permanent protection with an additional 5 years of security for their children due to the risk of reprisals. There are still differing reports about the exact duration, but the fear of assassination attempts has become part of security assessments. Netanyahu stated that any new Iranian attack against Israel will receive a stronger response. The dispute over drones connects this crisis to the war in Ukraine. Peter Zeihan states that Kiev has launched about a dozen new models in 3 months and has started producing approximately 13 units for every 10 manufactured by Russia. The Ukrainian advantage lies in innovation supported by European funding and Soviet aerospace infrastructure. Zeihan's assessment is that 2026 may reveal how this war will end. The Gulf nations are following this race because they need cheap interceptors against swarms of drones. The American supply does not meet all the demand at the desired pace, and investors from the region are looking for Ukrainian projects and new defensive solutions. The Syrian seizure shows why this matters. More than 100 drones would quickly reinforce Hezbollah and would require expensive interceptors. Marco Rubio opened another front by denouncing networks. Anti-fascist militants who move across Europe and the Americas share propaganda, training, and information about targets in encrypted channels, use safe houses, and support operations with transnational funds.
This is an international conference because we are facing an international threat. We are facing a transnational threat. These are not distinct and isolated groups. They are interconnected networks. They do not recognize our borders. They don't actually even believe in the nation state itself. They coordinate, communicate, travel, train, and act together, sharing the same infrastructure, the same enemies, and the same mission. Antifa militants and their comrades travel from all over Europe and to the Americas to take part in each other's attacks, to channel propaganda, training materials, and target information through shared encrypted channels. Moving through underground networks of safe houses and funding, and they sustain their operations through transnational funds.
The statement shows that Washington has broadened its focus on transnational groups. The Syrian investigation is now looking for those responsible for the cargo, the financiers, and the contacts who were waiting for the truck on its way to Lebanon. If the inspections continue, Hezbollah will have to rely on more expensive, slower, and exposed routes. For Iran, this means less ability to arm its allies at a time when its coast continues to come under attack and the Strait of Hormuz is once again pushing the region toward an even greater war. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially using the Pix key shown on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on telling you the truth. Your contribution helps us keep going.